Alright, we're going to be doing the differential on the Celica today. Take you under it and we'll check her out. So as you can see here, pinion seal's leaking pretty bad. So that's our main concern. Hopefully that yoke doesn't have a big cut in it. But we'll get her out and check her out. Alright, so took the drive shaft off right away and fluid came puking out of it. So that's telling me the seal's not bad. It's leaching up through the splines on the actual diff pinion. So that's good. That means the yoke's probably going to be alright. So that's a big concern checked off. And we'll get back into it. Alright, let's get this thing apart. That's a real interesting drain plug design. Little fill plug. This is a 6.7 series that Toyota has used since basically the dawn of time. We're hoping it's got some of the same components as the older Celica and whatnot, so we can try to use them as ideal. I have heard, I have done some research, and I can vouch that RX300 are also 6.7s that work on the same components, same thing like Highlanders and stuff like that. So what we're looking for here is some designs that go into this. So yeah, so that carrier is basically identical, almost a little thinner than what we're working with in the Celica. So I'll measure height and other clearance on it later. But the important thing is just to figure out if we can use the Cusco centers you can get in these things with like the RA65s, because there's a pretty big need for actual limited slips in those units. A lot of people don't have access to like Celica Supra parts per se, and it's only thinning down more and more and more. So we're gonna try to figure that out for all you guys. Mark our straps. Mark them for direction and side. Just match up your dimples. Obviously, when I gotta clean this up, I'll take the high points down so they won't cause any sort of issues for this. So don't worry about any of that. This is an interesting design with these things. Something exclusive to all these IRS 6.7s. They don't have circlips. They have these snap rings that hold the axle shafts in. So you can't repair the axle shaft or stub seal in the vehicle. You have to physically take the carry out of it to do all this stuff, which is honestly the biggest hurdle when it comes to trying to fit like a limited slip in these units is you have to accommodate for the axles. So now for the Cusco ones, I do believe they send you axles, is what they said on the website, stubs. So if it's the same pattern, we should be golden. So that's what we're really hoping for with these. As long as it's the same spline count. And flange. So if the flange is the same, we are good to go. And we are ready to rock. Now I'm not really expecting to find any bad bearings in this thing. It's hard to say because, like I said previously, this thing in this guy's ownership has only been on the road a couple times, so it's kind of hard to say what could be going on with it. But it's not too uncommon to see oil coming through the splines on the pinion. I've seen that quite a bit. Basically what happens is they put sealant on the splines, generally from the factory, and over time through heat cycles and stuff like that, sometimes it wears out, or in other cases they don't, and then eventually it'll just leach through the system. I mean, this is a 30-year-old car, so situations like this can't happen. Pry bar now. Come on. Come here. There we go. Alright, so always make sure you don't mess up your caps if you're going to reuse the bearings. So this is for the left, this is for the right. Let's see. Oh, that's not the best thing in the world, but interesting. So this has got some pretty good grooves in it. I don't know if the camera's picking it up or not. That's not. There's a pretty big groove in there. I'll take my gloves off and really feel that. But it's not looking too good for the carrier bearings on this thing. Not that they're bad, but this is just age. Yeah, same with this one. Now what's important is, so you always want to look on the outside of the caps for the cones. You can see if it's been spinning in the pocket or not. This one's not too bad. This one looks like it's spun a couple times, but it's not streaked throughout, so that one's probably okay too. We'll give it a fit check once we get this thing all cleaned back up. Go from there. Don't mix those up. So this is nice and tight, so it's not a loose yoke issue or anything like that. You can see that's factory marked from the stake and the paint pen, so that hasn't moved either. So we're going in a good direction for this. I'd probably say everything's going to be good order. Not going to be anything too difficult hopefully in this order. Stake that. Let's see. It's 24. Full Prius can. Oh wow. Well, that's never. Well, that explains why it's leaking. Generally, you need to pound that pinion out. Not out of the yoke per se, but out of the bearings. So we're gonna have to check that out for sure. Initial inspection on this. Got a little cut in it, but nothing I can't buff out. So that's good. That's all original. Things are looking actually pretty good for this thing. It's always the unicorns that give you the big problems with these things usually. It's not so much parts availability, but it's hard parts. Like finding one of these stubs or finding a carrier for these things is pretty hard to do. Thankfully, the pinions, or all the seals and stuff like that are still readily available from Toyota and Rock Auto and any other major parts retailer from what I've seen. So, good on that. This has a little wear in it. It's been spinning. There might have been a preload issue actually. Yeah, there's some deep grooves in there too. Let's see if I can cut this off. So, over time, crush collar will weaken. So that could be one of those issues where it's tight enough that we don't have any pinion play, but it's loose enough that we do have some spinning. So as you can see, the yoke and the bearing were both spinning on this thing a little bit. So there's some little grooves. We're gonna flatten this back down. This is one of those things where it's a shot in the dark if they have these or not. I'm assuming they probably still do, because these are still, these are still used for a lot of things. So let's take a peek at this pinion. All right, so looking at this crush collar. And look at that. So I don't know if you can see this or not. This is a little piece of, you can kind of see it, a little piece of the crush collar. So this was spinning. So it did loosen up over time. But not to a point where I think gear set will be too messed up. I don't see any chattering on it, so we should be good. Some streaks in that bearing, but that doesn't look too bad. Important thing is, as far as I can tell with this pinion, it doesn't look like the bearing was spinning on here too bad. A little bit of rust in there. That's basically from sitting. That's not the worst thing I've seen though. Let's take a peek at the races. That one doesn't look too good. And yeah, same thing with that. Oh wow, there's a lot of rust in here. So this thing had some water intrusion in it. I don't know, it's gonna be hard for me to show you guys, but let's see if I can pick it up a little bit. So if you can see that rust color that's in there, that's from water intrusion. There's a little bit of water that got in this thing, so that might have started some of these problems for it. And then there's a bunch of rust here in this the lube pocket between the pinion and the other pinion bearing. Woo, that is gross. Oh yeah, see all that stuff? That's just rust. Rust in the gear oil. So that's probably what caused the streaking in the bearings. It was rust coming off, oxidizing in the case. And once the oil starts flinging around, it'll break it loose. With heat and everything else like that, you know, pop it down. So we'll get this thing all cleaned up, and we'll do some R&D. Stay tuned.